Hi, my name is Michael.G and have another video for you. Today's video is about the voice that came out of heaven. And in the Bible, this is in the New Testament in two occasions. Occasion number one was with John the Baptist. And Jesus, and where were they? By the Jordan River. Well, let me read you the thing. The Jews heard the voice of heaven, "Thou art my Son, the beloved, in whom I delight." But the Jews did not hear ye him. Remember that. They did not hear that. And when we're talking about Jews, we're talking about in the New Testament. When you see the word Jews in the New Testament, it's not what you think, because Jesus Jesus said in John 8 that he has a different father than the Jews, and the only Jews that have the same father Jesus does stays in Jesus' word, truth. So we know that. So the Jews did not hear the voice from heaven. So these are the two occasions that the voice from heaven came. Occasion number one was when John the Baptist was baptizing with water. Then Jesus came, and then at that moment we would see it as an example of that would be Matthew 3. We'll go from 16. And having been baptized, Jesus went up immediately from the water, and lo, opened to him were the heavens, and he saw the Spirit of God descended as a dove coming upon him, and lo, a voice out of heaven saying, "This is my Son, the beloved, in whom I delight." Okay, so that's the first place in Matthew, and then the parallel verses of this would also be in the other Gospels. And then there's another, and then the other place. Yeah, I'll go to the parallels. Let's go to Mark 1:11. We'll go from verse 11. And a voice out of heavens, "Thou art my Son, the beloved, in whom I delight." And immediately doth the Spirit put him forth to the wilderness. That was Mark 1:11 and 12. So we'll go to another parallel passage. We'll go to Luke and the Holy Spirit. And this is Luke 3:22. And the Holy Spirit came down in a bodily appearance as if a dove upon him, and voice came out of heaven saying, "Thou art my Son, the beloved, in thee I did delight." Now let me see if there's another one. That was the last. That was the last place. Now we're going to go to the second place, where it was when the Transfiguration. So in the Transfiguration, we have three people there. We have Jesus, and who went up there? James, Peter, and John. James, Peter, and John. Now remember, Revelation, John, the book of John, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John. There's a reason for that. To focus on that. There's a reason, because remember, we're talking now about the Transfiguration. Who was on the Transfiguration? Elijah, Jesus, and Moses. Okay, I'm going to read the one from no, not that one. I'm going to read the one from Matthew 17. Okay, so there I'll go a little back. I'll go from 17:4. And Peter answering said, Jesus, sir, is it good for us to be here? If thou wilt, we make here 3 booths, one for thee, one for Moses, one for Elijah. While he is yet speaking, lo, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and lo, a voice out of the cloud saying, This is my Son, the beloved, in whom I delight. Hear him. Now, the purpose of this understanding, hear him, is the voice from heaven. God's voice from heaven is saying to listen to Jesus first. Listen to what Jesus says. And thought it would be appropriate to discuss that now, because some of the things I'm saying would probably go against what you're taught up in the modified church's understanding, which is really departing from the truth. So we'll read in the second place now. In the second place, we'll go to Luke 9, and it says, and a voice in Luke 9:34, and as he was speaking these things, there came a cloud and overshadowed them, and they feared them in their entering into the cloud, and a voice came out of heaven, This is my Son, the beloved, hear ye him. Hear ye him is told to James, Peter, and John. This was not told to the Jews. The Jews know, in my Son, the beloved, in whom I delight. But they don't know, hear ye him. Now, why would that be important? Well, if you look up beloved again in the New Testament, there's 2 other places it talks about beloved. And if we go to Matthew 12:14, we'll start there. And the Pharisees, having gone forth, held a consultation against him, how they might destroy him. So the Pharisees are looking to destroy Jesus, and Jesus, having known, withdrew thence, and followed him great multitudes, and he healed them, and did charge them that they might make him manifest, that it might be fulfilled that was spoken through Isaiah the prophet, Lo, my servant, whom I did choose, my beloved, in whom my soul did delight. I will put my spirit upon him. So the beloved of God is going to have his spirit. Jesus has the Spirit, God, and judgment to the nations he shall declare. He shall not strive or cry, nor shall any hear in the broad places his voice. A bruised reed he shall not break, and smoking flax he shall not quench, till he put forth judgment to victory. Okay, so we are being told that it's bringing us to Isaiah. We're going to go to Isaiah in a moment. It's going to Isaiah 5. Okay, so this verse in Matthew 16:18 is pushing us to Isaiah, because it says in 17 that it might be fulfilled that was spoken through my prophet Isaiah. Lo, my servant whom I did choose. Now, we're getting someplace with this, and it's going to be really an eye-awakener. So if we go to the beloved now in Isaiah, we'll go to Isaiah 5. We'll go to Isaiah 5, in 5:1, actually. Let me bring this here. Okay, my beloved, a song of my beloved as to his... Okay, wait. Let me sing, I pray you, for my beloved, a song of my beloved as to his vineyard. My beloved hath a vineyard in a fruitful hill, and he fenced it, and casteth out its stones, and plantedeth a choice vine, and buildeth a tower in its midst, And also a winepress he hath hewn out of it, and he waiteth for the yielding of grapes, and it yieldeth bad ones. Okay. And he waiteth for the yielding of grapes, and it yieldeth bad ones. And now, O inhabitant of Jerusalem and man of Judah, judge, I pray you, between me and my vineyard, what to do still to my vineyard, that I have not done it. Wherefore I waited to the yielding of grapes, and it yielded bad ones. And now, pray, let me cause you to know that which I am doing to my vineyard, to turn aside its hedge, and it hath been for consumption, to break down. I missed my spot. To break down its wall, and hath been for a treading place, and I make it a waste. It is not pruned nor arranged, and gone up have briar and thorn, and on the thick clouds I lay a charge from raining upon it, because the vineyard of Jehovah of hosts, the house of Israel, and the man of Judah, his pleasant plant, and he waiteth for judgment, and lo, oppression, for righteousness, and lo, a cry. Woe to those joining house to house, field to field, to bring near till there is no place. And ye have been settled yourselves in the midst of the land. By the weapons of Jehovah of hosts do not many houses a desolation become, great and good without inhabitant? For 10 acres of vineyard do yield one bath, and an homer of seed yieldeth an ephah. Woe to those rising early in the morning, strong drink they pursue, tarrying in twilight. Wine inflameth them, and harp and psaltery, tabret and pipe and wine have been banquets, and the work of Jehovah they behold not. They behold not the work of Jehovah. Now remember, Jehovah Yahweh, and it's I am. What's the work? The work that was done before the foundation of the world was the truth. They behold not, yea, the work of his hands they have not seen. So they have not seen the work of his hands. Therefore my people removed without knowledge, and his honorable ones are famished, and the multitude dried up for thirst. Therefore hath Sheol enlarged herself, and hath opened her mouth without limit, and gone down hath its honor, and its multitude, and its noise, and its exalting one, into her, and bowed down the low and the humble to the high, and the eyes of the haughty become low, and Jehovah of hosts is high in judgment, and the holy God sanctified in righteousness, and fed have lambs according to their leading in waste places. Of the fat ones do sojourners consume. Woe to those drawing out iniquity with cords of vanity, and as thick ropes of the cart sin, who are saying, let him hurry, let him hasten his work, that we may see, and let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw near and come, and we know. Woe those saying to evil good, and to good evil, putting darkness for light, and light for darkness, putting bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. Woe to the wise in their own eyes, before their own faces intelligent. Woe to the mighty who drink, and men of strength to mingle strong drink, declaring righteous the wicked for a bribe. So money, wicked for a bribe, and righteousness of the righteous they turn aside from him. Therefore, as the tongue of fire devoureth stubble, and flaming hay falleth, their root is as muck, and their flower as dust goeth up, because they have rejected the law of Jehovah of hosts, and saying of the Holy One of Israel despised. Therefore hath the anger of Jehovah burned among... I missed my spot. Therefore the anger of Jehovah hath burned among his people, and he stretcheth out his hand against it, and smiteth it, and the mountains terrible, and their carcass is as filth in the midst of the outplaces. With all his anger doth not turn back, and still his hand is stretched out. And he lifteth up his ensign to nations afar off, and hissed to it from the end of the earth. And lo, the haste swift it cometh. There is none wary nor stumbling in it, doth not slumber nor sleep, nor opened hath been the girdle of its loins, nor drawn away the latchet of its sandals, whose arrows sharp, and all its bows bent, hoofs of its horses as flint have been reckoned, and its wheels as a hurricane. Its roaring like a lioness, it roareth like young lions, and it howleth and seizeth prey, and carrieth away safely, and none delivering. And it howleth against it that day the howling of the sea, and it hath looked attentively to the land, and lo, darkness, distress, and light hath been darkened by its abundance. The light is not there. The light is not there. So, is that the only place we see about beloved? No. While the voice out of heaven, we heard my beloved, there's also a parable that talks about the vineyard. Now, we just read in Isaiah in the vineyard, but also in the New Testament, we have in Mark 12, and it's talking about, and Mark 12:1, and he began to speak to them in similes. A man planted a vineyard, and hath put hedge around it, and digged under a wine vat, and built a tower, and gave it to the husbandmen, and went abroad. And he sent unto the husbandmen at due time a servant, that from the husbandman he may receive from the fruit of the vineyard. And they, having taken him, did severely beat, did send him away empty. And again he sent unto them another servant. At that one having cast stones, they wounded him in the head, and they sent away dishonored. And again another, and they had killed killed many others, some beating and some killing. Having yet therefore one son, his beloved, he sent him also unto them, saying, They will reverence my son. And those husbandmen said among themselves, This is the heir. Come, we may kill him, and ours shall be the inheritance. And having taken him, they did kill, and cast him forth without in the vineyard. What therefore shall the Lord of the vineyard do? He will come and destroy the husbandman, and will give his vineyard to others. And this writing did ye not read? A stone that the builders rejected, it hath become the head of the corner. So, the story of my beloved and the vineyard, and they killed my beloved, is the same as Cain, Abel. Abel was beloved. Cain killed him. Where was he killed? In the field. This is the same story as Jesus being killed by the Jews. It's the same story. Same thing. When the Bible tells you something, it's telling you something from every different angle. It'll show you the micro understanding of it, and at the same time, if you step back, the macro understanding of it. You see, Thou art my beloved son is what those people heard, and they thought to be the heir by getting rid of the son in that last simile. They thought they were going to become the heirs, and that's exactly what happened too when Jesus was crucified. Because they knew who Jesus was. The Jews knew who Jesus was. Because they heard, Thou art my son, the beloved, in whom I delight. They did hear that. What they didn't hear is, Hear ye him. That they didn't hear. That's a big deal. We're going to go into this in another direction too, which we discuss Judah. But if somebody wants to do a little bit of a homework, when I talk about Jews in the New Testament, you have Judas Iscariot, and you have Judas of Jesus. Both of these, Judas, the name Judas, some Bibles might have it as Jude, is from the original Hebrew Judah. Now, remember we had talked about two different wives of Judah. One was the lineage through Cain, and the other was from Tamar. And that's for Jesus. So the Judah of Jesus is different than the Judas Iscariot, or the Jews who are of Iscariot are different than the Jews who are in Jesus' word, as we find from, again, my last video in John 8:31. Jesus therefore said unto the Jews who believed in him, If ye may remain in my word, truly my disciples ye are, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. They answered him, Seed of Abraham we are, and no one we have been in servants at any time. How doth thou say, Ye shall become free? So, see, Jesus made a qualifier. The qualifier on who is of God and who is not is wrapped up in the truth. You have to have the spirit of truth. And the spirit of truth is the spirit of God. When they killed, when Jesus said that simile about the vineyard, and he sent my beloved son, they thought they would get the inheritance. That's the same thing Cain thought. And by the way, if you were to read the book of Jude, in the Bible, that's right before John. It actually talks about that as well. We're going to do that in another video. I want to keep this a little bit separate. Noah had read a little bit, a lot in Isaiah 5, but we know now the beloved, thou art my son, the beloved, hear ye him, pushed us to 5, because we know that the other place where it talks about the beloved, it tells us it's from Isaiah 5:1. It starts at Isaiah 5:1. And also the other place where it says, my beloved, is at the Transfiguration, where James, Peter, and John are not of the devil, because Jesus said, I have chosen ye 12, and one is a devil. Separate. Not the same as the children of Israel. Not the same. Jesus makes a distinction. He makes a distinction with his father and their father. This is a big, this is going to ruffle a lot of feathers. But so what? That's not my problem. I don't really care. The bottom line is we're supposed to say the truth. When Jesus was crucified, now here's why this is from another angle. When Jesus was crucified by the Jews, the lie is that the Romans did it. The Romans couldn't do it. Romans didn't even know what truth was. In front of Pilate said to Jesus, what is truth? He didn't have any idea. So ignorance will not sacrifice truth. This is a huge understanding. Ignorance cannot sacrifice truth, because it doesn't know what truth is. We know that the descendants of Cain, that Jesus said in John 8:44, they do the works of their father, the devil, unless they're in truth. So if they're doing the works of their father, the devil, liars. The liar crucifies the truth. If you get rid of the truth, the liar now becomes a default truth. But God's not standing for that, because that's why he manifested his Son, so that he can destroy the works of the lies. The reason Cain killed Abel is so that Cain can become the default truth. Because if there's two sons, one liar and one the truth, if you kill the truth, like Jesus, and what's Jesus' name? Because names are really important here. Salvation is of Yahweh. Salvation of Yahweh is what was crucified. They tried to get rid of this truth. So what do they say? Works salvation. The liars are teaching you that you could choose God. That's what the liars teach you. The serpent said to Eve that she could choose. She could send forth her hand and grab of the fruit. That's a decision. This is telling you that you don't have free will. You're either of the family of truth, or you're of the family of liars. And the liar is going to make you feel like you have control in your will to say that you're of God. You have a family, let's say father, mother. If some kid just, shows up and says, "Hey, look, I'm your son." The father looks at the mother looks at the father. I don't have no son with nobody else. The only son that the father would have was with his wife. So this other person's a stranger. So this person, the stranger, is not conformed in the image of truth. Because, you see, the person that says that they're going to choose God, that means their will to be. You can't do to be. You either are or you're not. Only those of the truth will do the truth. Those that are of the lies are going to tell you that, you could choose God with your will. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure you can. No, you can't. Impossible. You can't get in with your will. Because if you get in with your will, how are you going to... if you get in with your will, the problem with the will is that the will can't see the tree of life. Truth. The tree of life is protected with the flaming sword. So the will can never see the tree of life. So if the will can't see the tree of life, the will can't choose the tree of life. There's no way that the will can choose the tree of life. Salvation is a revelation that you are son of God, sons and daughters of God, before the foundation of the world.